Good day, everyone. I'm here with Greg Richardson, General Manager of Camelot Golf and Country Club in Ottawa. Greg, are you right in Ottawa or are you just outside?
Out eastern edge of Ottawa. So we are officially in the city of Ottawa, but many think we are our own little city. But no, we're on the eastern tip, right along the Ottawa River.
Nice. And how long have you been at Camelot, Greg?
I'll be 7 years in February since I took over. So time does fly. Most members think it's only been a few years. So,
Yeah.
but 7 years.
Nice. Thanks. Well, you've been gracious enough to join me today to talk about Survey 110 that we have going on and some interesting topics. So, one thing that I just mentioned to you before we came on to record here was you guys were in a red zone, which I guess was towards the end of your season, October, right? And you said that restricted indoor dining. How does that look going into the winter?
Yeah, it was right Thanksgiving weekend, and we honestly had a wedding, a 50-person wedding, which was in our capacity booked the next day. And it came out. We got the rumors on the Friday morning, and it was a member's wedding, of course, and they were coming for a rehearsal dinner. And honestly, our team did something that was fantastic, which was move the wedding a day early. So they converted the actual rehearsal dinner into the full wedding. They got the officiant. Everyone said, you know what, come, we're going to do the full dinner now. We don't know if we can do this tomorrow. This was, of course, we found out that they gave an exception for weddings, which they didn't tell us right away. But yeah, so we moved that whole wedding into that Friday night, and they loved it. And the weather actually rained the next day, so it worked out perfect. So that's just an example of how everything has had to be so fluent and pivoting and adjust on a moment's notice on the government's decision all summer. So I think by that time we were getting used to it, but that's an exclamation point in our season with respect to having to pivot. And the last few weeks meant we got as many propane heaters as we could for our patio to service our members outside. And we do have a pretty large patio, so it didn't affect our capacity too much, but certainly it shortened the days. It got pretty dark, and we don't have a fully lit patio, so it did bring down some of our sales levels. But October is not our busiest dining month for members, just with the end of the season, and we normally do shut down the clubhouse at the end of October. So
Yeah.
not a huge impact, but it did have some impact. Yeah.
Well, some positives, anyways, brings the team together a little bit.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
nice. Okay. I know you guys have some simulators. Is that something you just put in this year or are they a few years old?
Project we got approved about a year ago at this time. We launched them in January 2020 with the intent of having them be a seasonal option for our members from January till Easter each year, let's say. So we had got about 2 months in with them until the pandemic shut us down March 15th. So they were up, and that part of the business was operating and was shut down. So we did have the plans to put them back up this January, but again, with the restrictions in place and the fact that those units take up some banquet space that we would have normally left for Christmas parties and events that we do a moderate sized business. So our plan was to keep the space for those events and then have the simulators in January, but we again changed. So those events aren't going to be happening as normal. So we're going to have those simulators pop up next week. So gives the members that are staying around, much more members are staying in town this year than other years, something to do mid-November on. So
Yeah, right. Okay. Again, like you said, adjusting, adapting, and still positive and still keeping traffic coming through. So, one thing I asked this week was how many simulators places have. From our research, it's about half of private clubs now, at least private golf clubs, that have simulators in place. Do you guys have a couple of them? How many do you have?
yeah, we opted to go with 2 units. That was for our plans to keep sort of our main banquet space like accessible. This put in our sort of casual dining area that would be right near our bar, and would be, you could see the big screen TVs and have people be close enough to each other. That was the theory when we got the 2 units. And so we do have plans. Our longer term plans is to make it more of a permanent addition, so it would be available year round. But for now, they're there to get us through the winter and have another option. We've been basically closed shut other years for members with no services, so this has allowed us to expand into grooming our winter trails outside, do cross country skiing, have ladies groups come in to do some Christmas wreath decorating, things like that. All small items that we wouldn't open up for on its own because it just wouldn't be worthwhile. But when you combine it with simulators, it's been something that we can add, and the members like the ability to at least be active in the winter.
Yeah, and 2 was the most popular number. Knowing winter now and COVID and popularity, I wonder if some clubs are wishing they had 1 or 2 more, because
Yeah,
one thing we asked to comment, for those that had it, was accessibility. We know how, demanding the tee sheet was, how little supply there was for that. Now simulators obviously gonna only accommodate a few, less even, right? So how will you guys do that? How will you do your bookings for your simulators?
yeah, like literally sent out the emails to members about an hour before we started this call. So we've got a membership option, and I think in the first 45 minutes we sold about 10 memberships through the online booking system. But that's going to give them a flat number of rounds because capacity is a big issue. With based on our hours of operation, we're thinking we've got about 128 spots per week, and we're going to limit it to 60 members. But if they each played twice a week, there goes our capacity. So that's why we didn't make a membership available for the whole year. We said it gives you 25 hour-long bookings over that time, and then we'll allow members to pay an hourly fee if they don't want them. But the members will get advanced booking privileges so that they'll get the first privilege to book those. And we're not allowing guests at this time. We did last winter, but at this time we're going to wait till January to do that. Much like the golf course, expecting it to be very busy and not wanting to have our members be stuck behind others that are not members. So
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense. And obviously, with only 1 year and COVID times, a lot less historical data to pull from, and you're just kind of guessing, right? So the packages or memberships make a lot of sense. And then no guests again, kind of same thing. And I think looking at T sheets for next year, there's a lot of similar things that people are looking at, whether it's reduced guest play, reciprocal changes, obviously events. So yeah. And then what kind of hours throughout the day will you do for the Sims?
so we're kind of going on a daily basis. We actually have put one day alone for lessons. So we've dedicated Mondays for our head teaching professional and head golf professional just to use them for their lesson programs. So that'll be Mondays. And then Tuesdays through Saturdays will be open 9 to 9. Sorry, Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 9, and then 8 to 9 on weekends. So
Okay.
so that gives just to get enough people through, but and get keep
Yeah.
some staff working too. But it definitely keeps the facility open a lot longer than it would normally be during the winter.
Well, the members have to be grateful for that, right? I mean, those are pretty extended hours, so good for you guys. Nice.
Yeah,
So
and
how much?
we did look at adding a third rental unit just for this year. We didn't pull the trigger on it, but just to say, we didn't want to make a commitment just for this year or the next year where it might be higher capacity. So we're trying to be careful with overreacting to COVID. And we know this year will be busy, but we'll see. And if it does grow and if this becomes a permanent trend, then we'll absolutely add more. So
Yeah, right. Good stuff. Rounds played was another interesting point for this week's conversation. A few questions that had come in for those, and we all know rounds are up. From the research that we found, looking like between 25 and 30%. One interesting note, though, is private golf as a percentage. There's more rounds played from the research that we found. More rounds played in the private golf sector versus public, though the public golf as a percentage was up higher this year. So, what do you think? Do you think there's maybe newer people getting into the game, or is it those people that don't play often playing more?
yeah, we tracked very heavily because we were in that 25% figure there. We've been doing about 25 to 26,000 rounds pretty consistently for the past 5 to 6 years, and we almost got to 32,000 rounds this year. And that's knowing that we were a full week less than last year of play in May. So we opened May 16th, which was later than last year, which was our latest opening ever. So yeah, if that extended out, it could have been in the 33 or 34 thousands. But we found that our members are just playing more. Like we had about a 5% increase in golf memberships this year overall, year over year. So many members thought due to capacity that we had just sold too many memberships and that we were over full. But to say, you know what, we're only 5% higher than last year. It's just that everybody's playing more golf. And typically when you said that, they said, well, yeah, I am playing more golf too. I'm playing way more.
Yeah.
Uh, People come in saying, I'm so tired. I'm just playing so much golf. And I said, well, yes, that's what everyone's doing. So we had the numbers to show that on a per round basis by classifications to say that the numbers versus prior years were just up that much more. So, but there was definitely an increase in interest in golf, and we saw that this fall with people looking to buy memberships and to say, coming in and coming in at full membership. So it's helped us really convert some of our associate memberships into full memberships. and allowed us to sort of cut off some of these more limited memberships to create full memberships, which is really the goal. We want to all have and have less people, but them playing more. So that's really helped that strategy go forward.
Yeah. Right. Good stuff. Merchandise for this year in your golf shop. Do you think industry-wide sales have been up, stagnant, or gone down?
Ooh, industry wide, are you counting online industry or just
Yeah,
green grass?
we'll put you under the pressure. Well, and yeah, we don't have
Okay.
the
Yeah.
resources online, so just green grass.
Okay. Green grass. We were down about 10%. So maybe it's stagnant. I don't know. I wouldn't say.
So most are down. I
Yeah.
actually should say half.
Half.
From the research we have floating around that 50% mark, half are down. So, and from my understanding, Golf Town is up. So the online has certainly gone up, and maybe that's where they're benefiting strictly because I know not a lot of green grass has made the transition for online shop sales and things. So about half are down, and it looks like upwards of, what do I see here, between 20 and 30% are down more than 20%. So there's quite a few that are down a lot. And with rounds played, you'd think it'd be up. And so it's tough to tell industry wide, including the big box places, whether it's up. Maybe they just have more of the market share. But green grass looks to be down. And not everybody. Like I said, it's only about half. And there are some that are still around the same as well. So we'll see. Again, maybe that's a 1 year thing.
Yeah. I think it was just people's uh, hesitancy to come inside. So they didn't need, as a member club, they didn't need to come into our pro shop. We have a starter, so they would come in. We had a greeter set up at the front for most good part of the year that were doing their COVID screening. So they would check in there. They would go there directly to the first tee and go play. So initially there was no time, almost very little time for them to come in and browse or do point of purchase sales. So you didn't have the same number of people actually physically walking through the shop when people would just be casually viewing. So I think that had an impact on our sales.
Yeah.
The people grew more comfortable, but then the mask rule came in, and then they said, okay, I really don't want to just pop on a mask to go inside if I'm not wearing it. So they did it if they had to. So club sales and such, because you could do that and fit those on the range, and that didn't have to be done in the shop, weren't as affected. But for apparel and some of those other things that would be more, hey, I like that, I'll buy that right now. But by browsing, I think that got hit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and well, and so profits would be different to account for and actually see versus just revenues, right? So,
Absolutely. Hmm.
beverage cart. Do you guys have one?
Yes, we actually added a second one this year to support that, because we wanted to have, before we had indoor dining and before we really had any dining, we wanted to be able to provide service on the course on a takeout basis is how we did it. So we extended the hours of our beverage cart and had them more than ever. So, and our sales reflected it, that we were
Nice.
had higher sales than ever from our beverage carts. So
I know that can be a very highly demanded item, and
yeah.
it can garner a lot of complaints. So good on,
Yeah.
good on
Well,
you
it was
guys.
kind of a safety thing too from us, just because we removed all the water coolers. So we wanted to make water readily available to members, especially the heat spells we had. It was they really wanted to make access. We gave away free bottled water to everybody at the first tee because we removed the coolers. But that's only good if they were coming through 1 or 9. They got it there, and we went through lots of water. But
Yeah, yeah.
we just wanted to make sure that they had an option out there with no coolers that they become used to.
Nice. So industry wide, what percentage do you think have a beverage cart? Private only.
Uh, what percentage have them?
Yeah. What do you think?
Private? Uh, I'm gonna guess it's 75%.
Okay, so we're that private that have a beverage cart, we're right around 40%.
Wow.
So
Okay, that's the top.
I think it's trending up, but tough to know. I've never really asked around or nothing to have my finger on the pulse for that one. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's obviously lower than I'd expect. I knew there's some that just will not have it because it's just not part of the culture they want to provide, which is understandable. But
sure. And maybe there's a lot of logistical things. I mean, you mentioned about the water, but whether there's a halfway house, where it's
yep,
positioned, how close the
absolutely.
clubhouse is to the tees, like a lot of those things, right?
Yeah.
So Simulators, we talked about those and how tricky it's going to be to manage time this year and giving everyone access. Accepting debit and credit in private facilities, private golf clubs now. How many do you think do?
I'm gonna say it's still pretty low. 25%. Well, I think it would, like, we accept debit but not credit in the clubhouse. So maybe overall it's a little bit higher. So maybe it's 35%.
So 2/3 accept debit and credit now.
Both. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
well, I should say one or the other. So it could be
Yeah.
debit only. I know the
Yeah.
fees are a lot higher on Visa, MasterCard. So
Yeah. And Amex can be upwards of 3%. So it's the numbers there's so many different card types out there now that I know it was always, when we looked at it, saying it's, budget on 2 to 2.5% cost for all of that. So we've used a third party firm so our members can pay their bills using an online credit card provider that gives us the full dollars, and then
yeah,
the member pays them the fees. So it gets around sort of the issues we have with charging fees to our members that way, and they can do it online. So we
convenience, eh? Yeah, you can't. I'm sure they're just begging for the convenience and a lot of online
yeah,
opportunities to pay for things now. So,
but
and again, that's probably a trending item. I
yeah,
don't know how
that
many
could
5 or 10
change.
years ago. Yeah, would have been a lot less. Last question we have for today. So, what do you think the average GM's tenure is these days?
So at their current club or in
Yeah,
general?
so that's what we asked. We posed the question as to how long they've been at their current club. And again, if we asked a couple of years ago, maybe it would have been different. But we'll kind of benchmark it now and then see a couple of years down the road if it's changed.
So I'll say 3 to 4 years.
Okay, so you're pretty close on that one. 4.33 was the average tenure, and
Yep.
again, I got to imagine that one's going down, right?
Yeah, it's there's certainly a lot of movement around, and when these things happen, it can be a lot of flux. So, but yeah, it's been something I've been fortunate to be on the higher side of those too. In my terms of here 7 years and 12 years at my prior club. So, but yeah, certainly talking to a lot of people that will move a couple times in the period of when I've moved. So I believe the numbers.
And again, there's a lot to it. I mean, you gotta hope that almost every time someone makes a move, it's for the best, but you never know. And if it's 4.33 now, maybe it's gotten to kind of a point where it can plateau for a little while. Maybe just
Mhm.
higher and has come down, but time will tell. So, Greg, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey,
We'll
yeah.
be issuing the results Friday. And any predictions for the Masters this weekend?
I'm just interested to see how Bryson DeChambeau will handle Augusta.
Yeah.
How his power game with no spectators around, and with just will he just overpower it, or will it his short game and his putting not be able to adapt to those tricky greens? So that's what I'm really looking to see, how his take on it goes. So, and of course, I know Tiger will be around, as he always is on that golf course. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, this being, later on Thursday now, I watched a little bit earlier. They got a deluge obviously earlier and
Right.
it softened it up. So I don't know if that'll only
Yeah.
be effective today or not, but it looks like Tiger's in the hunt so far. Obviously a lot
Yeah.
of golf to go.
Absolutely, it should be interesting. So nice to have that to do in November, to watch some
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no
green
kidding.
grass golf. Yeah, it's great.
Greg, it's great to see you. Thanks so much again.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for doing this. Is a good benefit for the club industry, what you're doing. So I appreciate the work you've done, and I'm doing this for many busy GMs that don't have time to ask all these questions of all their colleagues across the country to get some great benchmarking data. So well done.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And it's nice to hear. So we'll keep it going.
All
Thanks
right.
so much. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
Ryan. Yeah. Okay.